Today is a special video because it's the second time ever of me actually having someone other than myself or Mrs. Giga in the video, or even Zarex. We got my good friend here, Mr. Justin, also known as Crazy Peanut Pie from our video game videos. How you doing?
Doing pretty good.
Good. So, do you know anything about the Kaiju?
A little bit from what we discussed. There's a lot in they pop up a lot in mythology. Funny thing about kaiju is that it's not so much a individual creature as it is a label.
Yeah, you're correct, because originally I was told that kaiju were dragon-like creatures, very, very large dragon-like creatures, but that's just what today's look on them has become.
Yeah.
And in fact, kaiju started out as a Japanese word for strange creature, then it turned into monster, and then finally became giant monster.
Yeah.
And that's where kaiju actually comes from within Japan. That's how the word started out with strange creature. So, say our cat here turned out to actually be, what's that cat from Alice in Wonderland?
Oh, the Cheshire Cat?
Yeah, let's say it turned out to be Cheshire Cat. This would be a kaiju. Just saying.
I would be more surprised if she turned out to be cat safe.
Yeah.
Which is a fairy type, or a cat type fairy.
Yeah.
Or fae, as they're more commonly known as.
Yeah. But more into the kaiju. Let's see. What are the different types of kaijus that we can name off? Other than the most famous Godzilla, and then your King Ghidorah and Mothra and all of them. Other movies that bring up kaiju are Pacific Rim, and
I was wanting to make a reference about that. Be like, if you guys haven't seen the movie, then go watch it.
yeah, both one and two, they're very great. And then the Cartoon Network movie that came out. Don't know how it ended up working, but there kaijus existed, and they were saw as just dragon creatures. So that's where that myth from my word came from.
Dragon fire or whatever.
Something like that.
Yeah,
the boy was half kaiju dragon creature, half human. How that worked out, I don't know. I don't want to know.
They actually hint at it too.
They hint at it, but they don't actually say how it works.
Yeah,
It's like, I don't want to learn that. This is a kid's show.
Another one that actually talks about the fact that kaiju weren't just dragon-like creatures is there was a show, I don't know if it's still around, called Kaijudo.
Oh, really?
Yep. It starts out where the boy finds out that he has an affinity to handle kaiju, and the kaiju are from another world, which again kind of goes off the same thing of Pacific Rim and all that. Where,
yeah.
Anyways, he stumbles upon this one group, and they learn to summon the kaiju to this world and everything, and blah blah blah. But mainly, it talks about how there's different types and everything. I mean, I'm sure none of those are actual kaiju, but it's hard to tell with cartoon shows like that.
No,
but
I definitely understand that part. Well, what do you think it'd be like if we had kaijus living with us today?
It would be kind of interesting. I mean, it could be like, say, Monster Hunter, where we'd be going out hunting, but also using them at the same time.
Actually, I need to reverse the question. Not that you weren't going off. You were doing the right way of what I was actually wanting to ask. But what do you think it would be like if we had kaiju based off of today's standards of giant monsters?
Ooh, first off, I'll just say, kids out there is no wrong answer. Second of all, again, I'd have to say that it would be kind of like, again, Monster Hunter, but a lot more deadly.
Right? I mean, Monster Hunter, like, you get to see that one giant lava mountain one that's pretty much your version of a kaiju.
Yeah, and for all those who played Final Fantasy 15, where there's, like, at the end, after you do everything, there's this giant mountain that turns out to be some freaking monster you fight. It'd probably be like that.
Yeah. Well, so Godzilla stands for God of Destruction or King of Destruction. I can't remember what it was. And it also makes you kind of think, would kaijus also be seen as titans? Because when you go into something like the game God of War, you had these titans that were pretty much mountain-sized.
Yeah, Titans, in the sense, originally came out as the predecessors to what's known as the Greek gods.
Yeah.
But they are now known more for like anything that's super powerful and over some amount of height. So it's
kaijus could kind of go on the basis of titans, just not children of gods.
Yeah, it's well, I mean, titans became before the gods, so technically they were the original gods.
True.
But yes, depending on where you look, kaiju could actually be considered titans.
And the most recent King Kong god, but that could be all. King Kong is actually a kaiju too. Now that I've looked into it, just for everyone to know, that's the whole point of kaiju not having to be giant dragon creatures. Apparently, they can also be a giant gorilla too.
Mm-hmm.
But in the latest Godzilla movies, it's basically saying that Godzilla and all the other kaiju creatures were seen as gods because, I mean, hundreds to thousands of years ago, what are you gonna do? Throw a spear at something's toe and just make it really mad?
Oh my god. I can honestly see some people doing that, but yeah, I can.
I mean, at that point, all I can think of is from Pacific Rim, where they have those parasites on them, and just, like, that's what the people would really be trying to go after, is the parasites on them, to either please it or just get them for meat, because they know they're not going to be able to take down.
It does bring me to think of some of the religions in the Aztec and Mayans where they would sacrifice. Like, they would sacrifice either the people themselves and hand them over to whatever gods or creatures they were worshipping, or they would rip out their hearts or something. They would have some sort of a sacrifice to appease whatever they were worshipping.
Yeah.
And yeah, with kaiju, who knows? They might throw someone off to someone. Kind of like when you're trying to survive and you throw your buddy off just so you yourself can survive. That's something humans have always done.
It's true. Sacrifice. Yep, sadly. I thought that actually comes to mind because the way we've been talking about it this whole entire time is that kaiju are giant monsters, and when you say monsters, that means they're an evil creature. Well, an evil creature or a monster is in the eye of the beholder. Like stated in Jurassic World, to a canary, a cat is a monster. But if you could think to other large creature legends that could also possibly get kaiju, that means not all kaiju are evil monsters. I mean, Godzilla, whenever the movies originally came out, yes, he was a monster, but then several movies later, he's the good guy and saving everyone. Mm-hmm. And today's King Kong and Godzilla movies, they're still the good guys. King Kong is just kind of turned into a bad guy. Kind of like Beauty and the Beast setup right there. Yeah. And then I don't know if anyone's familiar with the island of the giant tortoise, where it carries an island on its back.
Mm-hmm. What was it? I know that's referenced in like Avatar as the lion turtle, but there actually are.
There's a lot of myths about that.
Oh yeah, there's even a part where in a book series called Artemis Fowl, where there's a fairy type called the Kraken, who's actually just a giant landmass who eats on methane.
Mm-hmm. But
and they can become islands or something too. So,
but the main point I want to bring out is that just they don't all have to be these giant mean monsters. I mean, God, you can't blame the sea turtle for disappearing under the water, because that's what it does.
Mm-hmm. And who knows, that might have been how. I mean, can't really say it is how it is now, as the fact that like they think they found Atlantis, but who knows, that might have been a theory at one point about how Atlantis was, with how it was on and then it went down underwater. There's so many rumors about how Atlantis went into the water.
Yeah. Let's see. What have we talked about? We've talked about. We've talked about that there are a lot of different types of kaijus. We talked about that they're not all bad, what they really are, what they can be. I guess, in a sense, because, I mean, if you want to go off of the old version of kaiju, all of our myths and legends would be technically kaijus. But I think having the newer version of kaijus, it would be a good thing. Half good, half bad, because like my friend Justin here was saying before, it varies on our terms of technology. Today's technology, if it were able to be put aside of all war, we might be able to survive alongside kaiju by putting technology ahead of just protecting ourselves against them, not having to fight them completely, because it's not like if we were to go off of just it being a random animal attack, not an actual kaiju attack from Pacific Rim where we're expecting them to keep coming at us, then like if we just fought them little by little, we could like maybe lure them to a jungle or something. And I think that would be kind of good, because if we were to kill a kaiju out there, say it doesn't have whatever kaiju blood from Pacific Rim is like, and it just has regular blood, like, think of the ecosystem. Like, that would have a tremendously huge good effect on the ecosystem.
Well, you also gotta think, I mean, if it was there for a reason, like, if you think back to Godzilla, that there was some creatures there who obviously had some sort of positive effect, that they were where they were for a reason, keeping that section in balance.
True.
So if one of them was to die, then who's to say what kind of effect it would have? It might have good immediately, but long term, who's to say? I mean, one thing I imagine is if we did have those giant kaiju, I can see, say there was 24 of them all around the world.
Yeah.
I can see some people forming like some sort of settlement around each one and having that as like a guardian deity kind of thing.
Kind of a large cage of some sorts.
Well, not quite. Using that
instead of forming the wall between America and Mexico, we need to form walls around the kaijus.
I don't mean literally around it. What I can see is like not so much literal around, but having their society based on having that creature around as like some sort of guardian or protector, or even just as their symbol in life. And maybe even with some smaller versions of it to help protect them. Like, say, for example, if there was it was some sort of giant dragon or something, for example, that there'd be other little dragons that people can ride and use for stuff, like earth dragons or flying dragons, that they can use for their daily lives.
Yeah.
And I can see, if that was the case, that I can see how sometimes they might go at war with each other depending on what the other kaiju is like. Just, that'd be an interesting one.
But like, I understand what you're going at, and I think it's a good idea to a point, because I mean, we're talking about humanity, which automatically just throws things out of proportion anyways.
Yeah.
So when one country or whatever decides to treat their kaiju as a deity or something, some sort of symbolism, then humans are gonna be people from a different country are gonna be like, well, ours is better than yours. No, ours is better than yours, and then automatically you're literally going to war over a kaiju.
Yeah.
And it's, in a sense, the three major references, the three major reasons to war are money, power, and religion. And I think at that point the kaiju would be under religion.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I'm not saying it's not a good idea, but put in the mixture of humans, it's just flawed.
Well, I'm saying, I did include the whole war thing.
You did.
So, and like, keep in mind that like, humanity is predictable in a couple things, in the fact that they always end up worshiping something.
Yeah.
I mean, not saying that's bad, I'm not trying to get into some religious debate.
Yeah.
But looking through all of history with all the mythology and everything, even if it wasn't so much worship as in revering or respecting, because worship isn't all about, oh, I will give you my life, I will sacrifice this person for you, blah, blah, blah. It's just, worship started out as respecting something that they was a little more powerful, or not even the same thing as them. It was just plain respect.
Yep. And yeah, but it's just humans just throw it way out of proportion.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying people don't deserve the rights to believe in stuff, but I'm just also saying people just tend to throw things way out of proportion. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, it's why when it comes to talks like this, is there's no pure fact when you look through. There's all there is just theories, because it's been so long, and with humans blowing things out of proportion. A good example is the telephone game. That has always been a good example for stuff like this.
The what game?
The telephone game. It's where you get a big group, you sit down in a circle, like Duck, Duck, Goose, but instead you turn to person one side or the other and you whisper something, and it has to go all the way around the circle.
Oh, and sometimes people get it mixed up.
There's also some people who deliberately mix it up too.
This is true.
And who's to say that hasn't happened in history, just so that they get the right way?
I've seen something like that in a couple of TV shows where a secret gets told, or they ask someone to tell someone else that way. They keep on telling other people, but it literally starts from it being told twice in a row being the correct way, but then the next person says something slightly different, and then that person after them, and it gets turned into a really big, blown out of proportion thing.
Yeah. As they say, history is always written by the winners.
Could literally be playing a party for next week, tell someone to start inviting other people, next thing you know, it gets turned into a cult.
Oh yeah.
The cult of the kaijus.
Oh my god. The thing is, though, with all these theories about kaiju being in another world, it could possibly be true, and the only reason we haven't found it could be to the twisting of information.
This is true.
If you look back, there probably is some hints, but it's been so far diluted or twisted.
Well, I mean, come on. Like, if all the things that could possibly be being true is actually true, just it's a big cover up. It's not a big surprise because, well, then the government's been covering up that stuff for years.
Yeah, and just so our viewers know, we're not actually discussing conspiracies. We're just saying, like, that would be funny if that was the case.
Yeah. Well, I think that's about it for today. Kaijus aren't monsters unless you want to see them as a monster. Technically, the next new creature we find in the world is a kaiju. Just think about that. Well, guys, I hope you all had a wonderful time listening, watching to us. Make sure to drop in ideas for other creatures. We're also willing to accept fake creatures if you're children that come with little creature ideas and you want to just throw it in. Give us a picture to go off of and some details of what your little creature does.
Or even if you're a writer or something who loves coming up with these things, we'd love to hear about it.
Yeah.
Just give us a description and some stuff you want us to talk about it, and we'd always be fine with that.
Yep, definitely. Well, thank you for joining us today, Justin. And I know that we will be seeing you many times in the future due to our own current status in life. But again, hope you guys all have a wonderful geek day. Don't be afraid to check out our past videos of us game playing together. We actually make a pretty good team of come up with some comedy on games. And I hope you guys like us together in these monster videos, or myth and legends videos, I'm sorry. And I hope you all have a wonderful geeky day once again. And that is all.
And one quick thing, safety warning: if you ever eat a peanut pie, make sure it's crazy first.